So we're done. We're not actually quite done with panel one. Panel one is really, really packed. I don't remember. It's 30 some audiences. I don't remember exactly. It's really the longest section because it's the most foundational. Right? It sets many of the foundational principles that then John Paul II and the language that he's going to spiral back to. All right. So the next PT is sacramentality of the body, or the body is sacramental. So can you please complete the simple definition of a sacrament for me? The simple definition of a sacrament is a
visible sign of invisible reality.
Great, right? Easy to remember. I always say, we can teach 5-year-olds this. They can learn to, remember all of the Canuck hockey players, right, and their stats. Okay, they can learn visible sign of an invisible reality. In other words, the body, what you can see, makes invisible what you can't see. In other words, there's parts of me, because I'm a mystery, I have an interior life. You can't see those parts, but you can see them as I express them through my body. So they make the invisible part of me visible. In other words, my person or my soul, my spirit. That part, can you see a soul directly? Can you see a spirit directly? Those are invisible. Those are immaterial realities. But you can see my interior life. You can see my soul. You can see the operation of my intellect and my will through my body. So that's one way that the body is sacramental. Are you following me? That what's invisible about me you can't see. My body makes visible. Okay? So I'm going to put up here some various items. Please tell me these 4 things all have something in common. And it's not that you hate them. What do these 4 things have in common? Sorry. Raphael. Who can tell me? Okay, they're all visible. Good. That's along the right track. Yes.
They're all signs.
Yes, they're all signs. I'm looking for an even more specific word that it's like a sign. Also begins with S. Not sacrament, symbol. These are all symbols. Notice your reaction when I put on this symbol. It's why I did it. Because we live in a symbolic world. And our culture is wanting to say, no, things aren't symbolic. They're just parts put together. They're just useful, utilitarian. So we often don't think of music as being symbolic, but it is. Who here could play those music notes? Okay, great, because you understand the symbols. You understand what these symbols are. Okay, if I gave you, a whole piano concerto, some of you could possibly play because you understand. I couldn't even begin to. I don't know the symbols. What about the word hat? Is that a symbol? Yeah, it is. We often don't think of language being a symbol, but what if I put this up there? Would that have had any meaning? No, because you see, what I did is I took the letters of hat and I rearranged them. You see, language is symbolic. This means nothing, but it's the same 3 letters. This has a world of meaning to it. Right? Same thing. Okay, so for most people in the United States, if I walk around with this on, they wouldn't have any idea what it is. But I put it on, and you all went, boom! Because you understand this is a symbol. And so you responded to it. First of all, you recognized it, and then you responded. What about the body? Is the body a symbol? Yeah, because theology of the body means what? The body reveals God. How many people do you think understand that the body is a symbol? Very, very few. Right? When they walk around, just like you had a reaction to this symbol. As we walk around and we see each other as male and female, we should have a response, and it shouldn't be, oh, boo, yuck. It should be, wow, I'm so delighted to meet your person through your body. And to see your body that reveals God. That's why I wanted you to have that experience of reacting to this. To see that that's the kind of reaction, a good response we need to recover in our culture when people encounter the human body. In audience 19, number 4, John Paul II has a very significant statement that sometimes when people quote just one quote from Theology of the Body, this is the one they quote. So spousal meaning of the body is audience 15, number 1. Sacramentality of the body is audience 19, number 4. The body, in fact, and only the body is capable of making visible what is invisible, the spiritual and the divine. Can you hear the sacramental language? So anytime in Theology of the Body, when you see visible and invisible in the same sentence, you know John Paul II is invoking sacramentality, the spiritual and the divine. Look what he says. It has been created. What's the it? The body. The body has been created. By God. By whom? By God, intentionally, from the beginning, to transfer into the visible reality of the world, the mystery hidden from eternity in God, and thus to be a sign of it. Right? This is why I keep saying, your body reveals God. Your body, one of its fundamental reasons for being in this world, is to make visible the invisible mystery of the Trinitarian God. What's Theology of the Body? A robust Trinitarian anthropology. Please, I do not want your body revealing God as some kind of wimpy whine. Right? We want it to be a robust Trinitarian revelation of the mystery of God. So please circle a word. Only one word. Sorry. Okay, Solomon, what did you circle? And I'm going to ask you to make sure you're always wearing your green jacket, just like Dominic's wearing his red. Because I realize it's really... Thank you. It's so helpful. What did you circle, Solomon? Transfer. Excellent. Dominic, what did you circle? Transfer, really? What about you, Raphael? Transfer.
Yeah.
Okay, what about you, Felix, right? No. Wait. No, Felix, you're way back there. Luis, what did you circle?
I circled mystery.
Mystery. Great, thank you so much. Something else. Where are you? What did you circle? What did? Mystery. Your name right here? Yes. Wait, yes, you, yes. No, what is your name? Joseph. What did you circle? Transfer. Chris, what about you? Reality. Sean, what about you? Mystery. And Matthew? Divine. Right? It's a packed quote. So this is one of those that you want to come back to over and over and over again because it's so easy to get off track. It's so easy to miss the bullseye if we aren't steeped in this sacramental understanding of the world. This is why Father Abbott and I get along so well, because we're both passionate about a sacramental understanding of creation. The goodness of creation, the goodness of all creation, to make visible what's invisible, the invisible mystery of God, but particularly the body. Okay, so this mystery, it's hidden in God from all eternity. What is it? That God is an old man with a long white beard? How do we define or describe Trinity in its simplest manner? Trinity is total gift of self in love. That's the mystery, hidden from all eternity. That, again, we could never know unless God had revealed it. God is this Trinitarian communion of life and love, a total gift of self in love. So please tell me, how do our bodies image this Trinitarian mystery of love? By being a total gift of self in love. Yes, I'm being repetitive, right? Because, again, what are we doing? We're spiraling, right? We're connecting what John Paul II has already said now with a new concept, with sacramentality of the body. So we image God as we saw, GS24, by being a gift with Go New York. So I like to say the body is doubly sacramental because it's a visible sign of what we saw, the invisible me and the invisible Trinity. It rhymes really nicely. The body's doubly sacramental because it's an visible sign of the invisible me and the invisible Trinity. That leads to PT number 8, original nakedness. So we saw original solitude, then we saw original unity, and now original nakedness. It's easy to remember because it spells sun, S-U-N. Original solitude, original unity, which means what? We're made from one nature embodied in two ways. That's the original unity, that duality. Okay, now we have original nakedness. Shall we just skip over that? I'm sure it doesn't interest any of you. All right, John Paul II, this is one of the reasons why I love him so much, is because perhaps you, like me, might have been accustomed to reading Genesis 2:25, which is the last verse in chapter 2 of Genesis, which says both were naked, the man and his wife, but they did not feel shame, and saying, oh, that's nice, let's go on to chapter 3, right? We didn't know what to do with it. But what is John Paul II interested in as a phenomenologist? Experience. I have learned to read scripture so differently by being formed by John Paul II and his way of being an exegete of scripture and what he pulls out. Because look, he looks at this and says, gosh, okay, Adam and Eve had an experience. They had an experience of their body, of their nakedness. And that experience of the nakedness of their body had not even one drop of shame in it. How can that be? Why would they have that experience? Here's what he says in Audience 12, number 2. The words of Genesis 2:25, they did not feel shame, do not express a lack. So unfortunately, I've heard a number of exegetes say, well, the reason Adam and Eve were naked and not ashamed is because they were naive. They were like children. They didn't really realize that they were naked. So John Paul II is directly responding and countering that. He says, no, it wasn't that they, it does not express a lack, but on the contrary, they serve to indicate a particular fullness of consciousness and experience. Can you hear the phenomenology? They had this experience. Fullness of consciousness and experience, above all, the fullness of understanding the meaning of the body connected with the fact that they were naked. All right, would you please circle a word? Lorenzo, what did you circle? What, fullness. That's a good one. Luke, what did you circle? I'm sorry, what? Fullness. Okay. Jerome, what did you circle? Fullness. Let's see, behind you. Let's see, I could do this. Patrick, what did you circle? Understanding. Okay. Stephen, what did you circle? Fullness. Richard. No, we don't have a Richard. Yes, Richard. Yes. What did you circle? Fullness. Lucas, come on. Okay. but you got it, right? In the sense it's not a lack, it's this fullness of experience and consciousness. So when he uses consciousness, he means self-reflection. Like I know that I know. Okay, I'm having this experience and I am aware. So it's a self-awareness. They're aware of that they're having this. What was this fullness of consciousness and experience? Is what I like to call the big DV. What could the big DV mean, do you think? It's the divine vision. So John Paul II says they shared in the vision of the Creator. They shared in the divine vision. So let's look at this for a little bit. If Adam and Eve shared in the divine vision, then I asked myself, well, how is it that God sees? Because they shared in however God sees all of creation and indeed their naked bodies. So they're looking at each other in their nakedness with the divine vision. So here's what I would propose, is we can say God always sees sacramentally. What does that mean? It means he sees what something is, he sees what's visible, but he sees the meaning behind it, what's invisible. In other words, God sees all of reality. He never lives by only half the story. Okay, so let's, again, I've given this some of my own terms. I like to call it the PD and the SR. What do you think the PD might stand for? what's visible. What can we see? The physical dimension. Okay, and invisible? Oh, okay, we had an extra. Perfect. The spiritual reality, exactly. Can you see the physical dimension? Yeah. Can you see the spiritual reality? No. But it's communicated through the physical dimension. So, but we have to know what the spiritual reality is in order to encounter it. That's why, right, you know what the symbol is. You encountered the spiritual, well, not really spiritual reality, but the invisible reality, right, through the physical dimension, and you had quite the reaction response. This is the way we're created. Okay, so I'm so happy that Kevin and Mary are here with us because I need Kevin to help me out with this for a moment. So Kevin, would you mind coming up here for a moment?
No.
You prefer not?
No, I was saying no.
Oh, you don't mind coming? Okay, wonderful. So I want to just give a hypothetical scenario here, right? Hypothetical. So I meet Kevin, down in Vancouver by the water. And I see Kevin, and I come up to him and I give him a big kiss on the cheek, right? So please tell me, what's the physical dimension of the kiss? What is it that you can see? Not a trick question, right? It's my lips, right? Touching his cheek, right? So the physical dimension. What's the spiritual reality? In other words, what's the meaning? What could that kiss symbolize?
Affection.
Right, affection. Relationship. What else? Think of some cultures. How do they greet each other? Right? It could just be a greeting, right? If I'm French, it's 2 kisses. Another culture, it's like 3, right? He could be my uncle, right? So it would be affection. It would be, right, familial affection. What else could it mean?
Departure.
Pardon me? One more time.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, departure, right? It's true, right? We're saying goodbye. It could also mean, hey, Kevin, didn't we have a good time last night? Huh? Here's my question. Does it matter to Mary, his wife, what the meaning is, what the spiritual reality is? Yeah, better believe it. Okay, thank you very much. Sorry. But you see, it just wouldn't have been the same with one of the seminarians. You see, it makes a world of difference what the spiritual reality is. And that has to be communicated to us. If God can always see the physical dimension and the spiritual reality, then he always knows what something is, and he knows the meaning behind it, which is why you can never deceive God. You can deceive us. You can deceive your fellow seminarians. You can deceive your parents, but you can't deceive God. So we could say God, because he always sees sacramentally, that's my way of saying it, always sees both the material and the spiritual. Why? Because the material and the spiritual are meant to go together. This is such a key principle that we have lost, not only outside of the church, but sometimes in the church. That the material and the spiritual, by God's design, are meant to go together. Kind of like chips and salsa, right? Peanut butter and jelly. French fries and gravy. How they go together, I don't know. But in Canada, they seem to go together, right?
Yeah.
These things just go together. We understand it. Material and spiritual are like all of those things. You see, in our mind, we often think that the opposition is between the material and the spiritual. Right? That these two are in conflict with each other. If we think that way, we're thinking in a very Greek manner. Right? Because Plato taught that the gods punished human beings by doing what? Trapping them in matter. So the goal of life for Plato and for many of the Greeks was to extract the spiritual part of us from the matter that weighs us down and interferes. And sometimes we've absorbed that. So Father Jose Granados, who's one of my favorite theologians, he says the opposition is not between the material and the spiritual. The opposition is between the material alone versus, what would be the other? Versus what? The material plus the spiritual. The problem is not the material. Material and spiritual are meant to go together. The problem is when the material gets isolated off from the spiritual. When the body is no longer understood as theological, but only biological or material. This is so key. Otherwise, how could Jesus say, unless you eat my flesh and drink my blood, you will have no life in you? Right there, it's telling us. The material and the spiritual go together. They communicate life. So this is a sacramental worldview. This is really what theology of the body wants to form us in. And I know it's part of Father Abbott's desire for your formation, is that you would be steeped in a deeply sacramental worldview. Because in the sacramental worldview, the spiritual and the material, spirit and flesh, visible and invisible, God and the body do what? Do what? They all go together. I want you to just think about our culture. Do they think that God and the body go together? How about sexuality and spirituality? You got to be kidding. So if Adam and Eve shared in the divine vision, then that means Adam and Eve saw both the PD and the SR, the physical dimension and the spiritual reality of everything, including what? The naked body. Right? So they're looking at each other in their nakedness, and guess what? Their nakedness is a symbol. It's sacramental. It's communicating something to them. So what's the physical dimension of the human body that they saw? Like, okay, in my example, you could see the kiss. What is it that Adam and Eve saw? Their nakedness, which revealed that they were male and female. Right? That's what they saw. That's the physical dimension. Okay, now what's the really important question? What's the spiritual reality? Who can tell me? What do male and female symbolize? Anyone? You got it. This. Union. And what else? Communion. Union and communion. If we look at the male and female body in its nakedness, we can see in the very structure, design, the very coherence of how, right, a male and a female body are put together, that they're made for union and communion. Because they're not made to just swallow up one another. They're made to unite and yet be distinct. So we could say Adam and Eve saw the spousal meaning of the body. What's the spousal meaning of the body? Made from one nature, embodied in two ways. For the